problem is that the food that we're eating today is poor quality. A lot of the food that we actually have on the market now are hybrid foods. They're actually not even the foods that we had 100 years ago.
It shouldn't even be classified as food at this point. Some of the things, especially in the middle of the store, all the boxes you can get, it shouldn't even be called food, really.
Absolutely, and it should be a crime, because like you can go and pick up a chocolate bar and it's not that chocolate is bad. What it is that it's the sugar in the chocolate that's bad. Even the older women now, like in the 40s and 50s, are jumping in. I'm like, gosh damn. Like,
at least there's no fact checkers anymore, right? You don't even have to tell people. They're just going to move right to the exit. So if they scream fire in the economic movie theater, it's not going to be hard to funnel people exactly where they want them to go.
I was surprised, right, that they were asking for this information. So what it is now is that
kind of defeats the point of crypto. You might as well just send your bank account info.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is that while Bitcoin is at $100 and something, if you are new to this podcast, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share, because that helps us to be recommended in the algorithms. If you would like to support this podcast, please check out our merch store on Amazon with the brand Todd and Me. We've got some cool t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and sweaters. Link will be in the description of this podcast. And if you're now starting a spiritual journey, you would like to start a spiritual journey, or you're currently on a spiritual journey and you would like some help removing some fears and traumas, please hit me up on my Instagram at Adriano_246, and it will help you to get some magic mushrooms. Enjoy the show and stay tuned, because we have some more great content coming soon. Hello friends, and welcome back to the Conscious Man 7 podcast. I am your host Todd Cave, and on this episode I am joined by my lovely friends Joe and Jen from the Legit Bat podcast, and I've appeared on their show I think 3 or 4 times already, and we always have great conversations, so I decided to have them on my show, and we're going to talk about some awesome topics as well. We're going to talk about Trump, the good, the bad, and the ugly regarding to his election, the drones, the disclosure of aliens, where we are in the system, geopolitics and current affairs, cryptocurrency, precious metals, health, fitness, nutrition, what's to come, what the return of Christ really looks like, and why supporting podcasts like ours is important, and why podcasts are the future of media. Now, it is fair to say that the legacy media, the MSM, the mainstream media, is pretty much dead. And that is the reason why Donald Trump was actually elected as president, because he jumped on the bandwagon of the new media, which is the alternative media, which comes in the form of podcasts. Because hearing people sit down to talk in long form, after a while you can get an idea of the person, their character, what they stand for and what they don't. And the thing about it is that the way the internet is set up now, podcasts are very decentralized. So you'll be able to decide who you want to hear and what you want to hear. While with the legacy media, what they're doing is they're telling you what to believe, who to listen to, and who they think is legitimate in terms of the information. But with podcasts now, the listener is able to decide for themselves who they want to listen to. So this is why podcasts are the future of the media. This is an interesting conversation, so let me know if you like conversations like this, and I will do a lot more where it was more unscripted and we more had a chat and a conversation.
When truth is blurred by lies and misinformation, perception becomes reality. What will you perceive your reality to be?
Liberate your fears and walk with me.
Sit down and meditate. Connect with your soul.
Be a monster and then learn how to control it.
You gotta be willing to do the work.
So it really goes really deep in terms of words and etymology and what they mean. So this is why like it is really hard to really crack the matrix, because there's so many levels and layers to it, you know. Today I'm joined by some really lovely friends of mine, Joe and Jen from the Legit Bat podcast. And tonight we're going to have basically a free conversation. We're going to talk about many different things and things that I think will interest people. So, yes, Joe and Jen, you want to introduce yourselves to my audience so that they can get to know you a little bit and stuff like that?
Of course. I'm Joe. My wife Jen's here as well.
Hey.
Yeah, we're from Legit Bat, and we've spoken, several times over the last couple of years. For my listeners, they're going to know who you are, obviously. So, welcome Todd Cave also to Legit Bat.
Yes, because we're going to do a bit of a swap cast. And tonight we're going to talk a lot of about a lot of interesting topics. And we're living in some really, really interesting times right now. And I think that it doesn't really matter which camp you're in, what team you're batting for or not batting for. I think that we all can agree that things are definitely different from how they were before. And one of the things that I think is quite interesting is that even though you have to be very intellectually dishonest to not realize that the system is actually breaking. And I think that a lot of people have a lot of Trump euphoria right now. And I do think that he will do some good things, but there are also some things that are quite questionable. It's, for example, this whole thing about the artificial intelligence with the mRNA vaccines for cancer and stuff like that. And the thing is that this mRNA technology is really no good. This is the what they use for the jabs, and those cause a lot of sickness and stuff. So, if they can be trying to do it to cure cancer, and the thing about it is that cancer is really something that a lot of people don't really understand. Now, a lot of people that are into everything mainstream will probably get quite upset with the things I'm going to say, but what we do realize is that when people have cancer, there was always a traumatic event that happened in their life between 6 and 18 months prior. And a lot of it has to do with poor nutrition as well. And what we do have is a planet that is pretty much sick in terms of we're mentally sick, we're spiritually sick, and we're physically sick with the food that we're eating. And I think that what they really want to do is trick us to acquiesce in another way. So they're like dabbling a lot of carrots over here, and then over here they want to get us, because what people don't really understand is that the Trump-Biden divide is the same story that we've had for hundreds of thousands of years of the Enki and Enlil divide in the Anunnaki pantheon. What that is looking is that one side is totally about top-down totalitarian forceful control, and the next one is control but through technology, and is akin to having 1984 totalitarianism or Brave New World totalitarianism. So one is brute force, and the next one is using SOMO, which I think is equivalent to social media, to get us to basically merge with the Borg and inject the chips in our brain. And Mr. Elon Musk, he's a very big proponent of these brain chips,
Well, it's not just him either anymore. We were just talking to JT the other night, and the whole Oracle and OpenAI and all those guys trying to get together and doing this mass surveillance thing on top of the mRNA vaccines, which I didn't know. I guess I did know, but I didn't realize it till today. But Dr. Robert Malone was the one, I guess, who invented mRNA technology. And he's been kind of one of the ones that people have been holding up as like a, anti-COVID, truth guy. And like, he's the one that invented the mRNA technology. That's crazy. And now they're talking about mRNA vaccines for cancer. And it doesn't sound good to me. I'm not trying to be a Luddite about it, but it doesn't sound good, at least, in the beta version. I'll let that test out for a few years before I ever stick myself with that.
It's true. And even he came out and he said that the people that want to be using AI to create these mRNA vaccines, he says they really don't know what they're up against, because it is literally so technical. Because what they're really doing is they're changing DNA, right? They want to be turning on and off genes, but they're looking at a solution, but not looking at the root cause. And the root cause to all sickness comes mostly from our nutrition. And the problem is that the food that we're eating today is poor quality. And I did a show with my dad, because my dad is a farmer and he has over 40 years experience. And a lot of the food that we actually have on the market now are hybrid foods. They're actually not even the foods that we had 100 years ago.
It's not. It shouldn't even be classified as food at this point. Some of the things, especially in the middle of the store, all the boxes you can get, it shouldn't even be called food, really.
Absolutely. And it should be a crime because, like, you can go and pick up a chocolate bar, and it's not that chocolate is bad. What it is that it's the sugar in the chocolate that is bad. And you can pick up a chocolate bar, and you will see, if you actually look at it, because you have to read labels, 100 grams chocolate, I have seen up to 49 grams of sugar. So basically 50% of the entire bar is sugar. And sugar, I say this a lot, but some people laugh at me. I think sugar is actually worse than cocaine. I think sugar is actually more addictive than cocaine and causes more harm than cocaine, because when you take cocaine, you get a buzz, you're happy for a few minutes, and that's it. People don't necessarily take cocaine every single day, or at least normal people, and unless you're like really
Hunter Biden.
Yeah, or you have a lot of money. The average person doesn't take cocaine every day, but the average person takes 2 to maybe 5, 6 teaspoons of sugar every single day, right? And I would argue maybe even more, because look at fizzy drinks, things like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and those kind of things. Like, it's amazing, right? You can actually see a child, and I saw this in the supermarket this week. The guy had a fizzy drink, a chocolate, and then he had like some muffins and stuff. And I said to myself, my goodness, he just is consuming pure sugar. And sugar is really bad for the body. They have other things like monk fruit or stevia that's better to use.
What do you think about agave? I mean, I like honey too, but what do you think about the agave syrup they have out there?
That's decent. Maple syrup is also decent as well. If you get the organic one, decent. I actually use maple syrup.
We're not talking about Mrs. Butterworth here, people.
Like Vermont maple syrup, real maple syrup.
Like real maple syrup. Like,
yeah.
When I'm designing, yes, when I'm designing meal plans for my clients, I put maple syrup in some of the recipes, and I use it in my cooking, and it tastes great. And obviously my body is a representation that what I'm saying is true, because I'm in decent good shape, right? And my clients get great results. And I have a client that's in Australia, and I was talking to him today, and he said, but Todd, I've not even started to train yet, because it's been kind of challenging for us to get the timings, because he's 15, 16 hours ahead of me, right? And he said to me, but Todd, we haven't started training yet, and I've just been doing the meal plan. I've lost 4 kilos already. And I said to him, well, I'm not surprised, because you are actually eating decent, and he's been pretty decent in what he's eating. So the point is that nutrition is really one of the biggest lack of knowledge that we have, and a lot of our challenges can be health-wise can be cured if we have proper nutrition. And the thing is now that comes from proper education, and we have a lack of education. And there's one of the things that Christ said, for my people suffer from a lack of knowledge, right?
Yeah, and it's a on purpose lack of knowledge in the nutrition department, because we talk all the time about the food pyramid we all grew up with in the 80s and 90s, where it should be almost exactly inverted. So it's not an accident that people are fat and lazy and stupid about nutrition. It was manufactured intentionally.
Wasn't it just in America too? Aren't there so many countries that they just ban the ingredients that we use here?
Most countries, yeah.
Most countries, yeah. Well, Europe is unique in its own way, but one of the things in Europe is GMOs, and the foods that you all have in America are banned. Like the chicken, you can't import chicken from the United States because of y'all wash it in chlorine and stuff like that. So, and like my clients that are in the US, they have to, it's a little bit more work for them to find actually good foods. Like one of my guys, he lives in Texas, and he said to me, that he drives now half an hour just to go and get his food from a farm, right? So he would get the organic milk, grass-fed beef. He says it's a little bit more expensive, but he says, I don't mind that because overall I'm saving because I'm not spending $30 a day on food, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to spend $30 a day on food, right?
I can spend $30 on stuff to get spaghetti, to make spaghetti.
It's
like
so
it's
expensive
crazy.
here,
Yeah, facts. This is why I left Europe, because it's untenable. Like, I saw this on the wall from 2017 after I had my surgery on my foot. I saw literally that things were declining, and one thing happened next, and I ended up emigrating, right? So surely it wasn't by my will to do it, but
Yeah.
it happened, and I just had to adapt, you know. So I think, like, you know, going back to the Trump and stuff, I think some good things are going to come out with him in terms of some of the things he's going to do. Some of the things, and the thing is, right, is that even I am apolitical, so I don't like or hate Trump. I don't support him. But what I do is I like certain things he says and does. And I think that that's a better position to take than just supporting someone. Because if you support someone in the word, it means you're accepting all the good and all the bad. It's a bit like religion. And I people know that listen to me know my feelings about religion. I think religion is one of the worst cons there is in life. And it is just there to capture another sucker. And the thing with Trump that's really good is that because the other side hates him so much, because this is basically an Enki and Lil serpent versus eagle consciousness battle
The
that we're having.
old archetypes.
Yeah, exactly. The old archetypes. What's happening is that it's playing out in real time in front of us now. And the other side that hate him so much, what they're actually doing is that they're exposing themselves, so that it's basically blatant to see, like, all these things that they accused Trump of, they actually did. Like, Sleepy Joe pardoned Fauci. He pardoned all these people like Peter Strzok and all of these people that were against him, right? And it's like, this is insane, right? These people tried to do a coup, were unsuccessful, got caught, and then their boss was like, don't worry about it, man. I'll sign something here and y'all can be free and no one can prosecute you. And
I think he said something about he was preemptively pardoning some people too, just in case the Trump administration accused them of
like
anything.
Fauci got a preemptive.
It was preemptive. Pardon. He's like, you haven't done anything yet. I'm just pardoning you just in case. Like, get out of here.
That guy Fauci, and I call him Fauci, he's a fraud. He's the guy, right, that really brought the whole AIDS controversy to the world, you know. When you look into the details properly, the same PCR test is what they use to diagnose people that have HIV, you know. And again, Dr. Kerry Mullis didn't invent it as a diagnostic tool. He invented it as a magnification tool. It was actually invented for rape cases so that you can magnify the genetic matter so that you can see if a guy was there or not. And for some reason, they're using it as a diagnostic tool. And he called out Fauci in the 80s, right? There's videos that you would have to probably go on maybe Rumble or something like that to find, or other websites, that he's calling out Fauci. He's telling me he's a fraud and that he's using the tool wrong. And that also at the same time is the drugs that are killing the people and is not their actual virus, right? And when people started to take the drugs, they pretty much, they mostly died. So that's what created the pandemic then, similar to what we have now. So
yeah, I have friends that swear up and down that nobody's ever died of AIDS, only from AZT that they give them when they have AIDS. I think it was called AZT. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was called AZT. Yeah, it was called AZT.
Yeah, and nobody really died from, quote, AIDS until they started coming up with a medicine for it, and then people started dying from it. And it's like, well, okay, that sounds like remdesivir, remdesivir. You know, they give people that in the 2022, and they died from that, apparently. So,
yeah, and this is the thing. Like, Mark Twain said that history may not repeat itself, but it sure rhymes. And you can see that the tactics that they're using are quite similar. And the tactic is basically to use fear, right? And all they do is that they use fear to get us into a place energetically where they can control us. And fear is a very powerful energy, and it can be used in situations that are, to save your life. So you would get more adrenaline in the body, more cortisol. You would get a bit stronger, a bit faster. But when you have your body under stress like that a lot, it starts to break down the body, because the body needs sustenance, and the body needs food and stuff, and the body isn't really checking for those things. So this is what causes the body to break down. And stress also is one of the biggest killers in the world, right? So like even during the pandemic, like a lot of people, they more died of fear of dying from a disease that they couldn't see, more so than the actual disease. And like you know, one of the mad things that I through the whole pandemic that I just couldn't understand. Well, when you check the death rate that's around the world, and then and also for each country, it was not even 1% at the height. Not
Oh
even
yeah.
1% of the population died from a supposed virus.
No, it was like
So
99.97 or something like that. It wasn't even. It was like a fraction of 1% that supposedly died from it. It's crazy.
Correct. And what that did is that event allowed them to put certain steps in place to try to have a controlled demolition of the planet. Because what they did is that they tested to see how much control they actually had, how people would follow, and also to transfer wealth from us to them. Because that whole pandemic was the biggest wealth transfer in recorded human history. Like, it was ridiculous amounts of money that the whole globe lost, and it went into their pockets, right?
A lot of it went into Musk's pockets. I mean, he doubled or tripled or something his net worth in 2020 and thereafter, and now he's like supposedly one of the richest men in the world. But trust him. He's got your best interests in mind.
Is true. And the people, what were the people that had shares in the companies that made gel, the companies that made gloves, the companies that made masks? You know what I mean? Like, these people got out making a killing. And what we were doing is just subscribing to more stuff online. OnlyFans took off, right? And that is, I tell you, right? Like, OnlyFans is, I would say, is very responsible for the breakdown in the what not the, but I think it put the nail in the coffin for the breakdown between the social dynamics between men and women. Because right now, like, it's almost like it's mad. It's almost like girls' fantasy and dream to be on OnlyFans these days. It is actually crazy, right?
Oh yeah, I don't have to do anything but spread my butt cheeks, and I can make millions of dollars. That sounds great. Who wouldn't want to do that?
But all of this is just promoting pure debauchery. And I called this I said this to a friend of mine about 2 years ago. I said, dude, Instagram is going to literally become like a porn site now. And we're very close there from the levels of debauchery that we have now. It's insane. Even the older women now, like in the 40s and 50s, are jumping in. I'm like, gosh damn. Like,
at least there's no fact checkers anymore, right? They allow some of the craziest shit. I've heard it more on X. I have an X account for a show, but I'm never on there because every time I open it, I'm just like, ew. At least, Instagram has like some pictures of people's dogs and cats and stuff. Like X just seems like a garbage dump. But the things that they allow on there, I've heard, is crazy. Like, Charlie Robinson gets booted off for a comment, but they allow basically straight up porn on X. It's like, where's the standards here?
Yeah, this is the thing. The world is completely inverted, and it's by design. And basically what we have is the ultimate goal of them is to get us to upload our consciousness to the cloud through injecting chips in our brains. That is the end goal. And when you understand that that's the end goal, and you look at the step and you take a few steps back, everything that is happening in the world makes sense. But the problem that we have is that we have a lot of people that are still sleeping. But I think that this year is going to be one of the biggest years that we've ever had in our recent history for prophecy, extraterrestrials, and the starting to break down of government and religion and money. And I think that a lot of these cards are going to start to rear their heads, because what we have now is we have these structures being exposed as fraudulent. And people that are now waking up, is going to be very, very difficult for them to accept, because these people hate Trump so much that they're willing to burn down the entire house just to get rid of this guy. So they're literally going to self-sabotage, rat out their own people just to try to bring him down.
Well, how does some of that fit in from your view for 2025 as far as prophecy? I mean, there's obvious things, but from your perspective, what does that look like to you?
Okay, so one of the things that I think is going to become even more prevalent in our consciousness is the distinction of extraterrestrials or aliens, whatever word you want to use. Now, people like me realize that this whole system that we live in now was built by extraterrestrial beings. I mean, and the reason why I say that with such confidence is if you look at the Hopi tribe, you look at the Maya, you look at the Dogon tribe, you look at the Aborigines in Australia, you look at the Zulu in South Africa, you talk about the people in Indonesia, no, it's not in Cambodia, you know, they all say that the gods came here and seeded them. They all say it. And this is also found in the Sumerian tablets. So when you look at all of these things together, it is clear that we today, in our present human form, are hybrids of an extraterrestrial race. And when they look at our DNA, it is shown that we are not actually native to here, right? Because we have such difficulty actually being here, especially look at like our skin. Like some people have like the resistance to sun is not as strong as others. Look at all the animals. Do you see any animals suffering from problems with like sunburn and stuff like that? No. We're the only species on Earth that has these challenges, right? So in terms of like what's going to happen is that the only thing that, because people have woken up so much, even though some people may not believe it, but the same tricks that they have used in the past are not going to work on us again. There are a lot of people that have buyer's remorse from getting jabbed. There are a lot of people that lost relatives who have been jabbed. So to do another pandemic exactly like that is going to be very difficult. So from looking at the tea leaves, one of the galvanizing things to inject more fear is extraterrestrials. This is why we're having all of these drones. And these drones, so what I think is going to happen is that we're going to have a combination of either a fake alien invasion, a real alien invasion, or a combination of both. It could be both psyop and real at the same time. And the reason why I say that is that people like Paul Hellyer got in front of Congress and told Congress that they are extraterrestrial beings. They would want to work with us, but we're too warring and we have nuclear weapons. And they would prefer us to get rid of our nuclear weapons and then they will help us. This is the Canadian defense minister, not some guy in the street, right? So what they're going to do is that because most people are sort of like, I would say, oblivious to that, that's actually what it is, by bringing, by seeding our consciousness through movies and then now with these orbs, people are starting to think, okay, there's something out there. But the trick that is going to come is that the government is actually working with these beings. And the orbs could also be black budget orbs that are made and manned by humans. We don't know, right? What's the deal? But what we do know is that this is a psyop that is they're going to use to get to reveal that aliens are the ones really running the show. They're our friends. We can trust them, and they're here to help, right? And then what will happen is that because human beings have this predisposition, thanks to the Anunnaki and their genetic modification, that we tend to worship people that we deem to be greater than us. For example, look at how we treat celebrities. Look at the kind of cult worship that we have. Look at the cult worship we have of leaders of countries, right? There are people that are Trumpers to the point that you can't even have a rational conversation with them to say, well, actually, these are some of the things that he's not really good at, right? You can't have that conversation with them, right? So my point is that they're going to use these orbs to start to seed our consciousness and gradually start to reveal these beings, because they control the planet lock, stock, and barrel. All the ancient scriptures say that. The indigenous people from each part of the world are saying that. So then
if they were really the so-called aliens, what's your idea on that? Do you think it's actually little, advanced cultures from other planets, or is it more, under the ocean? We just had this talk with JT too, but he thinks they might come from the ocean or interdimensional. Like, what's your view on that?
I think it's both. I think it's both, because what it looks like is that there was a galactic war, and some of the refugees fled and came to Earth. And when they came here, they populated Earth. So somebody found the races. Then the Draconians came here, tried to take over. There was another war, and it looks like if some of those, the collateral damage, some went under the inner Earth, and basically we have extraterrestrials that are living under the Earth. And then some of the beings could be interdimensional beings. Like when you read the Book of Enoch, the way they describe it is like interdimensional beings, and also even the Nagamati. So it could be a combination of extraterrestrial, meaning obviously not from Earth. That's what that word means. Interdimensional, so beings that live, that exist at a higher plane. Or it could just be a combination of both that have the ability to be physical and non-physical at the same time.
I know that sounds like to me like interdimensional, like phasing in and out, like because there's some people that are of the nuts and bolts theory with UFOs and aliens, where it's all biological and or mechanical and it's physical and all that. But there does seem to be a lot of stories and instances where that's not the case. So it does seem kind of like they're phase shifting or something, and they are coming into material reality on this dimension, but they can also move between them. And it sounds like stoner thoughts, but I mean, it's becoming more mainstream now. So,
well, the interesting thing is that, have you seen any of that video footage of the MH370 flight? How it just disappeared?
Yeah, was that actually validated or what? I did see a quick clip of it.
Well, if it is not validated, it's very, very good CGI. But I'm tempted to say that it looks legit. And you can see these vehicles coming in, and what they're doing is they're going around the plane and creating like a vortex, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just disappears. So these beings have technology that is far superior than what we have on Earth.
At least as far as what we're told we have. Yeah.
And we know that there's black budgets and dark money that have reverse engineered a lot of these crafts, and they've made deals with these extraterrestrial beings, the negative ones. And this is one of the reasons why there's so much abductions and child sex trafficking and stuff like that, because there are all these rituals attached to for the deal that they made with them, right? So
yeah, I remember the first show we did with you is called Old Gods and AI and things like that. And I think you came back to like the old gods or the mythological, the Roman pantheon, Greek pantheon, all that kind of thing is kind of just hearkening back to these old gods, which were actual AI or, whatever we want to call ancient AI. But it makes a lot of sense.
it does, and this is why I say that I really do see the way that they're doing it is that they're having these orbs, because the orbs are back again as of like today.
Oh, really? They're coming back? I thought that was so last month.
Nah, they're back, right? And the thing is, right, is that these orbs are actually being seen worldwide, in Germany, in the UK, in other countries. So what it looks like to me is that it could either be the Project Blue Beam, where they have the alien tech craft that they're just trying to frighten us, or to try to basically, like I said, it is part of a plan to get us to worship these old gods, right? That is really what it looks like to me. Because when you look at how things are right now compared to how things were in antiquity, the gods were visible and they walked amongst man, and they had sex, they drank beer, they fought, they were physical beings. Now, my take on it is that they were a combination of maybe greys, reptilians, and humanoids, right? And I think all those beings used to cohabitate the earth at the same time. But obviously, because there's some factions that always ultimately want to have control, and they end up fighting, and we were the prize that they wanted to fight for. So and they say that they're going to come back. So what it looks like to me is that in order for them to get us to worship them in the open and to fulfill prophecy, they have to start to seed our consciousness with them. This is why they do it through television, Netflix, and movies. And now, with people seeing these orbs, eventually you're going to see that, the government will tell us, oh, we know what these are. And, they can come and tell us, oh, we've been working with them, but we just couldn't tell you. We're trying to, not make you scared and this and the next. And what that's going to do is that's going to still make people scared. And then these gods are going to perform great miracles. They may even do healing. They may do things that are like magic, because where we're at now is that the line between magic, technology, and alchemy is being actually blurred right now, where if you have the right technology, you can perform, quotation marks, godlike, you can have godlike abilities,
Right.
So all they need to do is do a few things to convince the people that they're God, and the people will worship them. And then
it wouldn't
after
take
that,
much these days, from what I can tell. It wouldn't take a whole lot.
It wouldn't
couple
take
fancy
much.
tricks.
Yep. Frighten the people first, right? Or they're aliens. Okay, people are going to freak out. The economy is going to crash. Everything is going to go to zero. And then they can come and bring the solution. Oh, don't worry, because the economy crashed, we have a new system now, and it's called digital currency. And we will, but don't worry, we'll take care of everything. And if you want to have superpowers and be like God, just take this chip and put it in your brain. And if you want to download a joke, you can just download a joke. Like Ray Kurzweil, I think in 2008, he actually did this speech, and he said that in the future, man will become like God. And when he has connection to the cloud, he didn't say AI, but he says when you have direct connection to the cloud, he says if you wanted to, suppose you saw a nice cute girl and you wanted to go and talk with her, what you'll be able to do is just download a really interesting joke, and you'll be able to go and talk with her and impress her. And so they're trying to make this thing look like if this is like, something great, right? So they can do.
That's
a
funny.
lot of
We just talked
tricks.
about Ray Kurzweil on the last show too. The synchronicity. Yeah, he thinks there's a singularity of man and machine coming. I don't remember the exact year, but I think we're getting close. If he's correct.
Yeah, Well, even the movies like Optimus Prime and stuff, Transformers.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a possibility that Transformers could actually be real.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know, but think about it. The technology that's with the Transformers is almost like a artificial intelligence inside a machine,
Yeah.
right? So if you upload your consciousness and you put it in a machine, who's to say that you couldn't be Optimus Prime?
Yeah, that's funny because there is argument about that too, where I don't think it's physically possible to upload you as yourself to a machine. Maybe in the future a copy, but I think that would still destroy the original you, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Well, this is the thing. So when you look back at scripture, these ancient texts, it appears that they have the ability to transfer their consciousness from one avatar body to the next. Now, if that is the case, it means then that if you have an ability to remove your consciousness from a physical body, who's to say that you couldn't put it in a mechanical body, right? If you have like a receiver, and these guys now have the technology that they can basically create a baby from just a cell of you by creating semen and then creating an egg just from having one, some of your DNA. Now, what's interesting about that is that in the Nag Hammadi text, when Pistis Sophia created Yaldabaoth, who's basically Demiurge, she did it and she didn't have permission from her male counterpart. So Yaldabaoth was, we would more or less say, retarded. He was lacking in certain things. Well, basically.
Yeah.
And okay, this is spiritual, but I'm just trying to show the analogy that if they want to take things that are spiritual and apply it to the physical, and we do know that they have the technology to grow cells and to create certain types of body parts to test to see if they can turn on and off genes, and they can literally create a human from just a cell, right? They can actually turn on and off certain things in that cell to make it turn into something. So they can turn off certain things or turn on things to make it into semen. Then they can take another cell that's of the same cell and turn on DNA to make it an egg. And they can actually fertilize the egg, right? This is the technology that we have now, right? So basically where we're at now is that the lines between science and, what you would say, magic are being blurred.
I mean,
right?
what do they say? That any technology sufficiently advanced will appear like magic to people who don't know how it works? We talk about that all the time. You bring an iPhone back to 1900, they're going to burn you at the stake because you're a witch. Like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can be done that would look like magic right now, but in maybe 100 years it won't, or maybe less than that. We also talked about that on the last show, that it seems like technology is increasing exponentially every year. And I think that's what Kurzweil was talking about, is there's going to be a singularity where it just explodes because the technology's got so advanced in such a short amount of time that all of a sudden we're Optimus Prime. Like, I'm not putting it past it. It's something that could happen.
Well, all of these are things that are going to be on offer from us. And I do believe that when these gods come back again, because there's a lot of legends that talking about the gods are going to return. And I think that they're using a step-by-step process, because one of the first steps here now is that they have to seed our consciousness, predictive programming, that these things exist. Because whether you believe in extraterrestrials or not, at the moment, we don't actually have an answer for what they really are. So what that does now is that fuels speculation, right? No. What that's going to do now is that because of all the movies that we've watched, we're more likely to have the supposition that they could be extraterrestrials. And don't forget, 2 years ago, or maybe 3 now, the Pentagon admitted that aliens are real. And no one batted an eye to it. Tucker Carlson actually said it on his show. The Pentagon admitted aliens are real, and no one batted an eye.
Yeah.
So
they got people so apathetic and indifferent to it by denying it for decades that when they finally come out and say, oh, ta-da, here's ET, everyone's like, I don't care.
Exactly. So if by the predictive programming and then the putting of the orbs in the sky that everyone can see, our programming is going to make us suppose that is the case. Now, let us suppose then that aliens are real because they actually said that they're real. What at the moment humans would be more in fear if they were to just turn up in our reality like that, right? But what they're going to do is that they're going to slowly walk us in that direction. And I think one of the big cards that they're going to play is the economic card. And I think the economic card is the only card that they can use to push us in that direction. Because if everybody has lost everything, because think about it, I remember during the 2007-2008 crisis. So for the people that are probably under 35, you may not really remember that really well. But I remember that well because I was working and I had to take a job that I didn't want to take because there were no jobs. And things were hard. Like people were just losing their jobs. I remember getting up one morning and just seeing that construction had basically stopped. And one of the ways you can tell the wealth of a country or the status is to see how many cranes are in the air and how much construction is going on. And that was pretty brutal. The situation we have in the world now is at least 10 times worse than it was in 07, 08. So can you imagine that we have Venezuela on steroids on the planet, that the entire economic system crashes? Then they will look to bring in these central bank digital currencies. And then because people will be so broken and afraid, it would be very easy for them to say, hey, by the way, we've got some new friends and they're here to help us. We have all this great technology, etc., etc. And all they need to do is a few great magic tricks and humans will bow and worship them. That I'm certain of.
Well, what a better way to keep people, like you were talking about earlier, keeping them in fear. And it's such a great tool of control because when you keep somebody in a limbic state like that, they're highly suggestible. It's almost like being hypnotized. It's like yelling fire in a movie theater. You don't even have to tell people. They're just going to move right to the exit. So if they scream fire in the economic movie theater, it's not going to be hard to funnel people exactly where they want them to go. Don't worry. We have friends here to help. So
Exactly. And because people are going to be so afraid and also because they're going to be lost everything, especially think about it, the people today that have a lot of money, can you imagine that they just get up tomorrow and they're in the same situation as the people that they look down on? They would be some of the first people that would be like, yeah, let's have aliens here, and they would be right in line to get their brains chipped and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because what people don't understand is that this is a long-term goal that these two factions have been trying to do, because they both agree that we need to be slaves, but how we become slaves is where they differ.
And who owns them?
Correct. So one faction wants to do it by pure brute force. The other faction wants to do it through technology and AI and stuff like that. And the AI faction are the ones that are in power now. That doesn't necessarily make them better, but I think we have to be more careful with them, because the other faction is blatant in your face what they really want to do, right? I mean, they want to have you identify as a cat and say that, your feelings are more important than reality. And then the other faction is like, we can do a bunch of great stuff over here, but then over here, we're going to bring out some mRNA stuff. And then we can say we have a solution. People can be like, yay, you know what I mean? This guy, he's here to help us. And they can go and get more jabs. And then they'll probably end up dying. And then they would have killed more people because ultimately there's a solar cult worship, satanic death cult that we have.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all about death, right?
Well, what do you think about that as far as 2025 though? Because of the the Deagle report that was basically saying almost 70% or something of the U.S. is going to be wiped out by 2025. Like, does that match up with anything you've looked into as far as prophecy or scriptures or anything like that?
Well, what I would say is possible. Now, in terms of prophecy, the only thing that you could akin it to is like in Revelations, where you would have the return of the beast, right?
Pestilence and all that kind of thing.
That stuff, yes. So we have to wait and see how they're going to try to bring that in, because the people that wrote that control the world, they wrote the Bible and they're trying to fulfill it.
Right, it's like a playbook. Yeah.
Yes. So how they fulfill it, this is the part that's in motion and that we don't know for sure. But what I would say is that we are in for some very challenging times. And I think that we're going to start to have the economic part that's going to come simultaneously with the extraterrestrial element of it. And then what they're going to do is that they're going to try to bring out these jabs for us to inject ourselves. So when you have all of these things together, it is going to test humanity in a way that we've never seen. And I think that they are going to pull the economic card, or start it at least. Because, like, dude, let's be honest, the United States is about, $36 trillion in debt? Like, it can never be paid. And
no, I heard somebody saying the only way out of this is default on the debt. I don't even know what that looks like on a international scale. Like, what does that even mean to default on the U.S. debt? You know, like what? Well, it's so mind-boggling. You can't even $36 trillion or whatever it is. Like, those are numbers that people can't even wrap their head around.
Well, if the United States defaults on their debt, the entire global economy will crash, because what we have is something called a fiat money system. And what that means is that the governments can create money out of thin air by fiat, by decree. And all of the currencies in the world are based on the United States dollar. All. So what that means is that if the United States dollar goes to zero, all the other currencies go to zero as well. So what that looks like is Argentina, Zimbabwe, and Venezuela for all the countries in the world. So this is where I think that if we're clever and we invest in cryptocurrencies and precious metals, I think it will give us a chance to fight back, or at least to have a bit of a transition. Because
survive at least.
Yes, survive at least. And the thing is, in terms of cryptocurrency, I think what's going to happen is that the private cryptocurrencies are the ones that are going to be the ones that people gravitate to, because something interesting happened to me the last 2 weeks. And so one of my clients, he paid me in cryptocurrency, and I accept cryptocurrency all the time.
Yeah.
And when they deposited, because what I would do is, like, I would send it. It depends on if I need the money or not at that particular time, or I would just put it in my wallet, or hard storage wallet. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna cash this out now. So he sent it to my Coinbase account, and when I received it, they told me, "Oh, you need to fill out some forms and tell us where you got this from." I was like, "What?" I thought this was like because it was a particular currency, right? So long story short, from the beginning of this year, there's something called the EU travel policy. And what that means is that Coinbase is going to ask you questions like, did this come from another exchange, a wallet, a personal wallet? If so, is it yours? And if it wasn't from your wallet, who sent it to you, right? yeah, it is insane. So what's going to happen then is that as people start to wake up that they're trying to co-opt cryptocurrency as well, the private cryptocurrencies that can't be tracked are the ones that people will gravitate to because we want no surveillance from the state.
Right,
So
which is what, Monero, and I think there's a couple other ones, but I know Monero is supposed to be a privacy coin.
Monero, Zero, Pirate Chain, these are all privacy coins that will become very important in the future when we get to that point. Because I was surprised, right, that they were asking for this information. So what it is now
Kind of
is
defeats
that
the point of crypto. You might as well just send your bank
exactly.
account info.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is that while Bitcoin is at $100 and something now, what will happen is that the more privacy orientated people will stop using Bitcoin and more use the private currencies amongst themselves. And then if you have to maybe interact with the state, it would be Bitcoin will probably be used, because the way I see it is that Bitcoin is actually great for governments. And the reason why I say that is that it's great for us, because if they're transaction in Bitcoin, we can monitor the wallets and see if they're doing fraud and stuff. So if you have contracts that for, like, say for example, you want to build a road and you want to upgrade sewers or whatever, and you award contracts to contractors, the public should be able to see exactly how much money it is, and we can track to see if there's any mischief going on. So I think that Bitcoin will have a place in the global economy, but I think for person to person, I don't think so, because it would be too much surveillance that would be there. They would have no privacy. Like, I want to buy a pair of shoes from you and I buy Bitcoin for you, they can see. But obviously there's no names to the wallet, but, with some, good forensic tools, you can find out who the wallet belongs to, right?
Right.
And that's the whole reason too, like, with the whole shenanigans with when Ross Ulbricht, he got taken up because his website, the Silk Road, he was just the only website, but people were transacting on that site using Bitcoin. And because it's Bitcoin is actually semi-anonymous, it's not anonymous. So then they tracked it all back to him, and then he did like 13 years and he just got pardoned. And that was a bit of a psyop because they wanted to tarnish the name of Bitcoin, because the reason why the EU brought in these rules is because they believe that it would help against money laundering. But we the smaller folk, we don't do money laundering. You guys who control the world, the ones doing money laundering, the Christine Lagardes and the Sleepy Joes and what's not.
There's that projection again of, saying somebody's doing something when it's the exact thing they're doing.
Well, yeah, that's how it grows, right? That's the left wing playbook, accuse you of something while you're doing that same thing at the same time.
Oh, the media is great at that. Absolutely have that down.
Yeah, down to a T.
Yeah.
So I think that now is the time for people to prepare mentally, spiritually, physically, and I can put in another one now, economically.
Yeah.
And economically is making sure you reduce the amount of debt that you have. You're not exposed. If it's debt, it was non-secure debt, at least, because if all stuff goes to shit, then you know what I mean. Who cares about credit cards, right? That you owe. But then now, if it's tied to an asset, they can come and take the asset from you, and then you're pretty screwed, right?
Right.
So I would say that now is not the right time to be incurring large amounts of debt. And I think now is the time to invest in yourself, learn new skills, get into shape, learn about nutrition, start to do things like meditation, look at the spiritual side of you. Because what's going to happen, what's going to come is going to test us a lot, because we're going to get like some severe tests in terms of the psyops are going to be real. They're going to be coming left, right, and center. And then the food. I'm already starting to see food shortages for certain things that I buy in the supermarket. So when I'm going to the supermarket now, I'm like, wow, okay. When this thing comes back and I have to buy like 5 or 6 of these things, because it's clear to me that the supply chains are under a lot of stress, and the supply chains were broken 3-4 years ago, and they've
Oh yeah.
never recovered. So we need to start to put away, don't have large amounts of money in cash inside of the bank, because having large sums of money in the bank isn't safe, because the definition of a depositor is an unsecured lender. So the money is not really yours. When you put your money into the bank, the bank owns the money.
Yeah.
So if you want to think that that is not true, go to the bank and try to withdraw $10,000 or pounds or euros in cash. I guarantee you that you're going to get a little bit of trouble to get your own money. And they're going to ask you, why do you want this money? Oh, I want to do X. Okay, do you have any documentation or proof that you want to do X? And you're going to be like, well, hold on a minute. Whose money is this?
Yeah.
But we're just doing it for your protection, Todd, right?
Oh,
We
of
just want to
course.
make sure you're not getting scammed. So you need
Well,
to
I
fill
don't
out
know
all
if
these.
I don't know if it's all of the U.S. or just California, but I know around here I heard that it's illegal to travel with over a certain amount of money in the car, and I want to say it's 10 grand. It could be less than that now, but yeah, it's literally the cops can give you shit for carrying more than a certain amount of money in cash, and they say it's because of drug deals and all that, but okay, because civil asset forfeiture is a real thing, and they'll take that shit and just keep it.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a video that I saw with this guy in Canada, and this was like a couple of years ago. And I think from memory, the amount that you can take out in one go is 3,000 Canadian. And he went to the teller and he says, okay, I want to withdraw 3,000. And basically, the lady said, you have to come back tomorrow. He was like, excuse me? How me come back tomorrow? Well, you need to like, I can't remember exactly everything she said, but it was almost like he had to make an appointment. Then she asked him why. And then he's like, you maybe have to fill out some forms. And I'm like, yeah, this is insane, right? And yeah, civil forfeiture, asset forfeiture is real, especially in the United States, is insane. Well,
they take full advantage of it too.
This is why I believe that cryptocurrency is going to help the people, because all you need to do is have your password memorized, and you can literally have a hardware wallet or even keep it on your phone, and you can travel cross border. And then all you do is like, when you need to cash out, send it to an exchange, get the fiat, put it in your account, and you can spend it on your card, right?
Yeah,
Because
crypto is definitely a great way of traveling with, especially if you have a lot of money. I mean, put it in crypto, easy to take across the border. Nobody gives you shit for bringing a phone over. So that is one very utilitarian use for that.
Well, yeah, because like the guy that helps me now edit my videos, he lives in a country that is really difficult to get money to. And I introduced him to crypto, and he said to me 2 weeks ago, he says, Todd, I thank you for introducing me. He said, I just spent a whole weekend just trying to learn more about crypto and Bitcoin, because the amount of fees that he would have to pay and I would pay is like a lot, right? Like just to send money to him, it would cost me like £15, right, per transaction, right?
Wow.
And then he still pays to receive as well, right? So it's like both of us are actually paying. And I said to him, look, dude, you got crypto? You take crypto? He said, I have a Binance account. I said, great. So I said, look, and what he does is he just transferred it to USDT, and then he's able to, cash out that and stuff like that. And he said to me, Todd, thanks, because, and even like when I want to send money to my mother as well in Barbados, I send her via crypto sometimes as well,
Yeah.
And then if she wants any money, she would she would send her crypto to me, and I could always send it back to her in fiat, right? So, crypto really gives us a little bit of a way to push back and to fight back against the system, because the system is rigged against us. They definitely want to make us slaves and poor. And remember, you will own nothing and you will be happy about it, right?
Yeah.
And that is the modus operandi of these rulers. And another thing that I would say would be good for people to look at as well is precious metals, gold and silver. Now, for my brothers and sisters that live in the UK, we have a bit of a conundrum with silver because the government taxes silver at 20%. And my supposition for this is that because the rich people actually buy gold and they don't want us poor people, quotation marks, to have something, so they tax silver to make it unattractive. But for everybody else around the world, silver is still a decent metal to save some of your money in, because the metals are stable for the most part, and the way it's looking, silver is going to have when it does break, we don't know when that will be, but it will break because of all the technological advances that we're going to have. We will need silver for it.
It's artificially suppressed as it is. I mean, like you said, I mean, even here, last time I bought some silver, it was about $30 an ounce. Just not bad. And I bought some, a couple bars, put it in my safe and just let it sit there. It hasn't moved. I just figure at some point that bubble's going to burst and, it's going to be worth 500 an ounce or something. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it will be, because like I said, when the system breaks, because it's going to break, because what we are having now is what you call a melt up in the stock market. So the stock market is melting up. And I remember I think when did the crash? I think in 2007, 2008, if I am mistaken, the highest the Dow Jones was about 13,000 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then it crashed. I think from memory, it crashed to like 4,000 or 5,000, something like that. Now we have 44,000 for the Dow Jones now.
Wow.
So we are having a Japan style melt up where the money isn't having any value. This is why the prices are just going up. You have to put more of your currency to buy the same things, because the purchasing power of the currency is going down. Right?
I mean, pretty soon we're going to be having a wheelbarrow of Deutschmarks to go buy a loaf of bread, Luckily, we don't have to do that because nobody uses cash anymore. But
Pretty much. The last time I went back to England, it was insane, because I went to Sainsbury's to buy something, and I went into the self-checkout line, because there are loads of them now. So when I went to pay, I was like, hold on a minute, why does this machine not take cash? And then I looked around and everyone was scanning their Samsung Pay and Apple Pay and their Google Pay, and I was like, gosh,
I thought you were going to say scanning their foreheads or their wrists.
Well, some of them were doing it via their watches as well.
Yep.
And I was like, my goodness, excuse me, they're not even accepting cash, right?
There's places that don't. There's some businesses that don't accept cash at all anymore, which is weird. I don't even know how that's legal, but
yeah, that's weird. So basically, I would be prepared to go cashless if we were using crypto as the means of payment, because it's cheaper for fees. It is censor proof. You can't censor it.
Well, the more it's used, the more those fees will go down anyway, too. I in theory, right? Like if it became kind of ubiquitous that people use Bitcoin for everyday shopping, the fees would go down drastically. I would guess.
Yeah, it would go down. Well, all we have is we just need a bit more adoption, and I think that we would see the fees definitely go down. And then even if you don't want to use Bitcoin for payments for every day, there are other currencies that you can use that are just as good. Because basically what it is just a transfer value. Money is just an exchange of energy from one person to the next.
Right.
How we decide to do it, whether it's silver or gold or crypto, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yep.
So, but crypto is awesome. Like since I've been into crypto, I've found that like it just makes sense because you don't have to ask permission to send any money. You don't have to ask permission to receive any money. And, once it goes on the blockchain, you can see that it left the wallet, or you can see what you call once you have a transaction hash,
Right.
you know that basically that is 100% guaranteed going to go through, right?
Yep.
So
no, I love it. The more I've looked at it, the more I like it too. I don't know how tenable it is if in like the theorized grid down scenario, or the internet kill switch, which I don't think is going to happen, because how else would they get propaganda out there if we didn't have the internet? But so it is kind of reliant on electricity and internet connection, but it seems like we're making way more advancements, and that's probably not something we're going to have to worry about for too long. If the internet does go out, it'll probably be back up soon, that type of thing. But I don't know. We haven't really faced that yet, so it's hard to tell.
Well, the thing is, in terms of crypto, what we do know is that you can actually send transactions via hand radio, and you can actually still send crypto, so you don't necessarily need the internet. So
Really?
yeah, via hand radio and stuff like that. But one of the things I do say is that if the internet goes down, we have way bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
Every single thing runs on the internet. And this is why I tell people that you need to start stocking up on food. So all your favorite foods, what you do is that you buy, say for example, an extra 2 every week. And then what you do is you just rotate. So as you buy what you need for the week, you just bring the stock from the back, from the front right from the back to the front, and keep rotating like that. Because definitely this year we're going to have challenges, and we're going to have a lot of prophecy being fulfilled. We're going to have, because the Son of Man, which is what is happening right now, is rising, and the return of Christ is not how people really think. It is actually us waking up and realize that we all become the Christ. We actually have to work on ourselves, and we need to heal our fears and traumas. So that's when the lullaby, and it is happening now. A lot of people are being activated. A lot of people are waking up. And the thing is, when you start to wake up, it's very painful. So this is why I say that the challenge is going to be there, because when you start to realize that the system is a fraud, when you start to realize that religion is fake, when you start to realize that the money has no value, and that the government are just a bunch of pedophiles that basically walk around in suits and are very they project all of their bad deeds on us.
Yep.
Then that realization is going to be very hard for people. It's going to break people, actually. So this is why I say to people that now is the time to start working on our fears and traumas, start working on improving yourself, getting into shape, mentally, spiritually, physically. Start to look at preparing yourself economically, getting into crypto, learning new skills, learning other languages, get some precious metals, start stocking up on food, right? Have things that are assets that you could sell in the future, tires and this and the next, things that people will need, to live. This is the time that we need to start to work on, securing our future, because this is not a time to be complacent and certainly not believing what the media tell us, because all they do is they tell us lies,
Yep. 100%, dude.
Yeah, man.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, the what better advice could you give to people right now? I mean, I don't want to tell people it's all, fear porn, but it's also not going to be petals and roses and, fresh scents coming out, especially from the White House. So I love it. thank you so much for having me on. Thanks for coming on mine mutually. And why don't you tell my listeners where they can find you before we get out of here?
Sure. So you can find me on social media. So you can find me on Instagram at Adriano_246 or my name Todd Cave. And during the day, I am actually an online fitness trainer. So I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. And I also, help you to level up in all areas of your life. So I coach my clients in a holistic way. And this is why they also level up in other areas of their life, because the mind, body, and spirit are actually very, very much connected. And when you actually work on all three parts of you, you have better results in your entire life. You improve your relationships. You make more money. You can have more self confidence, and obviously you will look better as well. And summer's coming up soon. Yes, we're in January, but summer bodies are built in the winter. So if you would like to get into the best shape of your life, you would like to make 2025 a year to remember and to start and want to learn some of the things that we've talked about on this podcast, then you can hit me up on my socials at Adriana_246. Also, I help people connect with magic mushrooms. So if you are on a spiritual journey or you would like to start a spiritual journey and you would like to help removing fears and traumas, also hit me up on my socials and I will help you to get some magic mushrooms. And if I also have a podcast, it's called The Conscious Man 7. So you can find me on pretty much everywhere, any platform that is audio or video, I'm there. And I don't post everything on YouTube because you get strikes from YouTube when you speak too much truth. So if you can find me more on Rumble and Spreaker. So that's both the video and the audio. And then also, if you would like to support my podcast, you can support me via the store I have on Amazon with the name Todd and Me, and you can get some cool shirts like what I have on today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like this one. This one is called Truth Isn't Learned, Truth is Realized. So, I got
Nice.
some pretty good shirts there. So links will be to the store. It will be in the description on this podcast. And if you have any questions about any things we spoke about today, always feel free to hit me up. And I do like to talk to people that listen to my podcast and like the work that I do, because without people without you guys, then there's no Todd, there's no Legit Bat, there's no Conscious Man 7. So I really appreciate all y'all. And so don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share, because that helps us to be recommended in the algorithms. And go and shout out Joe and Jen and hit them up on Legit Bat and tell them that Todd sent you and show them some love as well,
Awesome, dude. Love it. Always great to talk to you, and we'll have to do it again soon. And I'm coming up on, I think, a couple days off, so maybe we can do it at a better time, during the day at least, so you're not, pulling a 23-hour shift or whatever you did today. You're a madman. But hey, it's like you said, what a better advertisement for your personal coaching and training than yourself. So love it. Thank you, brother.
True.
We will talk again soon. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for all the listens, and we will talk to you soon.